our session called Nailed It. We're having the discussion about auditioning and schools and anything else we feel like talking about. I'm Dr. John Wesley Wright. Hi, good to see you. And it is wonderful to see you here. And I can just very quickly, I will say that I, at 16 years old, was completely clueless. And just the fact that you are here and have inquiring minds is saying that you're way ahead of the game. So luckily this is a profession that, as you know, that we are, in the arts, we can sort of feel our way through and figure out what it is we want to do and how we're going to do it. And luckily that was what happened with me. So what I'd love to do is have this wonderful panel here. Dr. Bronwyn Forbet, right?
Yes.
And what I'd love to do is, and Dr. Greenewald, Mark, and this is Liz Lavelle and Brittany Simon, right? Dr. Brittany Simon. Okay. And what I'd love for you to do to break that wall so that they know that we were once their age, I would love to also know where you were on your journey at 15, 16, 17.
Oh boy.
That's the first question.
Oh, I suppose I probably shouldn't have sat in this chair. You're asking me to go first? Okay. All right, okay. So I'm originally from Durban, South Africa, and I grew up under apartheid, so that means that I did not have any music instruction. I did not have foreign language instruction. I could not read music when I started college. So many of you are already at a much, much better place, which I'm very happy about for you. So when I was 15, 16 years old, I knew that I liked to sing in church. And I didn't think it was a career that I could actually pursue. But my parents said that I needed to apply to the university in my hometown only. And so I applied for science, commerce, and music. And I was accepted for all three. So that's where I was by age 18. But age 15, 16, couldn't read music, used to being in segregated schools, and just like to sing.
Great. And like to sing is a great place to start. Okay? Then we can talk about being good at it. Yes. But next.
Oh yeah. So I'm from Lockport, New York. I grew up there. It's north of Buffalo, if there is such a thing as north of Buffalo, up towards Niagara Falls and that sort of area, if you know that.
So you didn't go to Fredonia?
I did not go to Fredonia.
Because I'm from Potsdam.
Oh, are you? Fredonia's known for music, I think, right?
Yes.
Music ed?
Our arch rival.
Uh-oh. Well, didn't do that, so I'm okay.
Okay.
And I grew up singing in church a lot, and also in school. I started to sing in musicals. I started piano lessons at 4th grade, I believe. I actually took music theory class in high school, and was just extremely involved in music and singing. Was praised for it, like some of you might be in your schools, and also won some awards for it in these competitions like you're doing right now. Also, was debating between math and music. I was really good at both. And then I just felt like a call to go into music. I just didn't know what that meant because I didn't sing really classical music. I didn't have a voice teacher growing up. I didn't study with a voice teacher until I was 18 at college. So I just sang for myself, and I would be in the basement just bellowing away, singing musicals. I did self-study some classical pieces, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I jumped into the college scene really not knowing what I was doing. So that's my basic story there.
A lot of similarities, actually.
Yep.
I grew up also in upstate New York in a very small farming community about 40 miles west of Albany. We didn't have voice teachers. I didn't know a voice teacher or even where to locate one. But I was very, very fortunate as a young kid growing up in this rural community because my parents started me on piano when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And my piano teacher was also the elementary school music And she was also the organist and choir director at our church. So I couldn't get away from this woman. I was there 5 or 6 days a week. That was my good fortune. Somebody was looking after me because it was because of her influence that I absolutely loved playing the piano. And I breathe playing, I mean, it's like breathing for me, playing the piano, which as a voice teacher is a really good asset. But as a 15, 16-year-old, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I also was very good at math. And if I hadn't become a musician, I would have been a mathematician, for sure. And fortunately, I chose music. And I applied to one school, State University of New York at Potsdam, which was known for its music program. And fortunately, I was accepted. And then I was like a rocket. I couldn't get enough of school. I took advantage of every single opportunity that I could find. And then, you know, I've been teaching for 46 years. I found my niche. I found my niche.
That's great. Thank you.
At 15, right?
Somewhere.
That was yesterday.
Somewhere.
Yesterday.
Somewhere in that vicinity.
Okay. I grew up with music in my home. You know, my dad loved to sing. The radio was always on, but certainly not any kind of classical background. My mother played beautiful piano, but she had terrible stage fright, so she didn't like to play in front of people. So there was music in my home, but again, not really of a classical nature. And I joke and I tell my students this often, I don't think my dad would have really cared if I become a country music star at the Clark County Fair or if I was raised on an opera stage. He was just excited that his kid was up there doing what she loved. And I grew up in this small town farming community in Ohio. Had great mentors. I loved my high school music teacher, but there were just some rivals within the choir. You know, everybody was vying for the solos. And so I went home one day and I said, I want to take voice lessons. And it was mostly because I just wanted to beat the other girl in the piano section so that I could get the solo. And my mom said, well, okay. And so I started taking lessons. And like you, this woman, she also taught piano. And I had taken a bit of piano when I was young, but I quit, you know, like so many young people. I didn't really want to practice, and I have perfect pitch and a good ear, and so I'm like, I don't really need to do this. So when I started taking lessons, voice lessons, and then I got really serious about it, I just took off, and then I thought, oh, if I want to do this in college, they're going to make me take piano. And I am not going to pass this class. So I asked my voice teacher who taught piano, I said, could I also take some piano lessons? And so I was able to alternate my voice lessons with my piano, and that woman saved me from freshman year piano. Because at least she taught me how to play chopsticks. And that was my journey. But I got to college, and music was something that I loved. I was always singing, and I just caught the bug. So I just couldn't get enough. And my high school voice teacher was the one who exposed me to foreign languages. I studied, got to sing German. Didn't understand a lick of it, not a bit. But she was the one who said, here's a dictionary, go figure out what you're singing. That was way before YouTube, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So just some common threads that I hope you're gleaning as they potentially relate to auditioning for college. One, the love, okay? And where that is initiated is different for all of us, but at the end of the day, we caught the bug and we loved it and we pursued it. And apartheid didn't stop you. The piano teacher didn't stop you. I had a very similar, this is making me laugh so hard because I was put in piano lessons in like 6th grade or whatever, and in my 6th grade mind, so my piano teacher moved, but I didn't know that. So in my mind, I was like, she moved because I was so bad. and so that ended my piano career. But of course, I picked it back up in college because you do have to pass piano proficiency and that sort of thing. The other, yeah, right? So the other thing, again, piano, as much as we know, and other instruments, anything that enhances and makes you more well-rounded, more marketable these days. A voice teacher who plays piano is going to be much more attractive than, or a voice student that plays piano is going to be much more attractive and successful than someone who is starting from scratch. So,
Just interject.
absolutely.
I think because I had played piano my entire life, and it was like second nature to me, and I could read almost anything you put in front of me before I went to college.
Wow.
That made college so easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was so easy because I already had a basic foundation of theory, and ear training was easy. When you play an instrument, you naturally hear the intervals.
I wish somebody had said to my 4th grade self, you know, you really should keep taking these piano
Yeah,
lessons.
absolutely.
You really should.
But also, just from a practical standpoint, when you're in a voice studio in college, if the professor assigns you a certain repertoire, you go to the practice room and you play it. You know, you
That's what
play
you're
it.
expected
You learn
to
it.
do. Yeah.
And if you don't have piano, nowadays you can listen to YouTube, or you hire a pianist to come and teach it to you.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have a good foundation in music reading, and you don't have piano skills, you're really, I think, at a disadvantage.
I'm going to say
Please.
yes, you are, because I could not play the piano, nor can I read music. However, you can use your mind, your brain, your solfege, the things that you can figure out. You can use if you're good with patterns. And that was something I was not, please don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about sewing. I had to learn how to sew in school. It was a requirement. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about seeing patterns in music, learning about form. There are ways that you can, I would highly advocate for piano, becoming proficient at piano, but if you don't know how to do it well yet, and I like using the power of yet, so I'm going to say, if you're not good at piano, yet, there are ways that you can improve your other skills until you reach a point where you are able to. So that I was really good at memorization and at noticing patterns and things like that and form, and that helps me a lot. But I'm so happy that you had that opportunity from when you said you're 5.
I've played piano my entire life.
That's wonderful.
But nowadays, you have these programs,
Right.
I mean, that
Yeah.
we're not available. You know, students now, you can go to the internet and get programs that play things for you. And so learning your music, instead of this huge hurdle, you now have resources where you can do that. So that's also really cool.
Yes.
So I'm a voice teacher who does not play piano. My students still do very well. So it's not a make or break. In fact, I think because I'm so terrible, and I can only play bass line or the right hand, and never both, they have to be stronger and more independent.
Yep.
Sometimes when I've hired people to come in and play for them, they're so used to being moved along. So, know that sometimes you're not strength. I try my best, but my brain just cannot. I was too old by the time that
Yeah.
I was had
Yeah.
time to do that.
Yes.
If you could sing while I'm playing, you could play.
That's
sing
what I
anything.
said.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, they can see through anything.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just shift a little bit to this end of things. And those of you under 20 who are looking to, are you all aiming towards a music major, aiming towards college? Yes. You are the folks we would like to hear from now. Your burning questions and or something you'd like us to expound upon. Any burning questions?
Yes. Well, I'm not quite under 20. I am a non-traditional student.
Okay.
So for your non-traditional students who may have children and families,
question. Who wants to take it? The question was, if you're a non-traditional student, you have children, you have lives, you know, how do you navigate the system with those circumstances? Sure.
So my next question would be, are you looking for a specific music degree to fit your lifestyle?
Music education.
Uh-huh. Online programs are now more available.
Absolutely.
And Liberty, where I teach, happens to be a large online program. So those tend to work well for people in your position where you have a different schedule and you can't necessarily meet always between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. through the day. So that can be a route. Or if you are close enough to an institution and there's some combination of things, like there are some like coursework things you could do online and then some things to take residentially. Like some things you can't replace online, like ensemble. Now, voice lessons, you know, we do them online or in person, and some do, some don't maybe, but so there can be a combination of online and residential opportunities that I think can be worked out. Very brief answer for me, but.
When you're looking at programs, I think it's important too, for you to be your own self-advocate. Just be really upfront and realistic about what you're able to do. But also know what your strengths are, so that when you're talking with these faculty members, when you're interviewing the program as much as the program is interviewing you. And so you just need to be really clear about your needs and your expectations and what you bring to the program that makes you unique and special, and why they would want to have you there. And I think if you go in with that attitude, that it really helps everybody be on the same page, so that they can figure out whether or not it's going to work.
So I really like this this answer about clarity, and also be honest with yourself about what you can handle, and be clear about that. And I love what you said about feel free to reach out, because we understand circumstances. We have lives as well. So I know at my little liberal arts college that someone like you, we would, I have a student who's a full-time pastor. So and is getting a music ed degree. So we do everything we can to make it work for her. So people, we will do that. We are not that scary. We're maybe a little bit scary, but not that scary. So yeah, be an advocate for yourself is the biggest answer to that. Great question. How about, I'm still over here for the budding music major. Yes, please.
So I've always had a love for music, but it's not something that I considered maybe being a career until later in high school, sort of where I am right now. But I do the things I have voice lessons and I take choir in school and in school musicals, but I still feel like almost overwhelmed with it, because I don't quite know how to sight read super well, and I don't know piano, and so I question myself and I wonder, is this something that I could even still do, or have I not practiced enough? I don't quite know where to start with it. So do you guys have practice tips or suggestions for somebody who's already very busy in high school as well?
The great question.
I'd be happy to try to take a stab at that one. So as I said, I didn't have any music training, really as such, outside of singing, very basic intro to piano, but more by ear and actually reading. I think a lot of my colleagues here have mentioned a number of different resources. You all know about Accompanist, you all know about YouTube recordings. There are even YouTube pronunciation videos for things if you are still learning about foreign languages. You know about Duolingo, and no, I'm not a rep for any of those things. But these are resources that are easily available now. It is daunting. You'd have to put in more work. That's just a fact. But if you really want it, you will do it.
Awesome. Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say,
It's
I think
impossible.
that's where the passion comes in. If it's something you really want, you'll find the resources. And you're right, we are so lucky nowadays to have so many online resources. But obviously you're taking voice lessons, right? You're here. use that to your advantage, you know, prepare your repertoire for those auditions, know the translations, know the character, work with your pianist, and just know your materials so well that that will boost your confidence, and go in there and be passionate about it. And I think the faculty who's adjudicating you will actually, they'll pick up on that passion. And I think I don't work at the college level, but I think I prepare hundreds of kids for college auditions. And I think one of the things that you said earlier was that you're interviewing, it's a reciprocal thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're there to audition for their program, but they also are auditioning, you're also auditioning them. Is this the right program for me? Do I see myself spending 4 years here? You know, and I think the college faculty that's hearing you, their number one question is, can this person cut the class? Can they make it? Can they graduate from this program? Are they going to be successful? Do you have what it takes for us to enjoy working with you? Are you the kind of person we want to have in our program? Or are you going to be a pain in the butt? And do you have the passion? Are you willing to put forth the effort? Am I right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard that from many college folks. They can sense whether you already know it all or you're there to learn.
Do you know, there's something humbling, I'm so
Go
sorry.
ahead, no, we're all panelists,
Sure.
we're.
I was going to say there's something really humbling also about admitting when you don't know something, but
Yes.
having the resiliency and the grit to give it a shot because you have this passion for it, this need to do it. And that's something that we like to see. So even you may not have all the answers yet, you're young, you have time, you know, we don't have all the answers, but it's exciting to us to see that desire to learn and to grow in young people. So
And
don't
this,
think that's
this openness, you know, are you open to what we're saying? I think as a society sometimes the messages we send to our young people are, you need to know exactly what you're doing, and you need to be perfect, and you need to be on time, and you need to be this, and you need to be that. But that's really not what we're saying. We're saying, are you open to being on time? Are you open, you know, if you know
I've been
what
saying
the,
that all my life,
Right.
we're not getting there.
if you know what the rules are, or if you know what the parameters are you able to rise to the occasion because you're passionate about it, or are you just dabbling?
Yeah, I think that's really important. And you know, I was probably in a similar situation because I came from this small rural community. There were no voice teachers for probably 200 miles. I lived about 200 miles north of New York City. And the kids that I ended up going to school with, college, many of them came from the metropolitan areas. They came from Boston, they came from New York, where they had been exposed to opera and ballet and the symphony. I hadn't been exposed to any of that. And I didn't have a voice teacher, but I wanted it so much.
Yeah.
That I worked harder than everybody else at learning all of those skills.
Say that again, what?
I worked harder than everybody
Yes.
else. I did.
That's
And I was successful, very successful. So I was so intimidated by all these kids who had all these experiences that I didn't have. I was just this kid from this country town that played the piano. That's all I could do.
So we have a question here, and we have a question here. Before I take your question, before I forget it, also online, which is just mind-boggling to me how much stuff, are sight singing resources where you just press a button and practice the intervals and that sort of thing. So there's really no dearth of resource.
And there's no shortcut, it's just hard.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
there is no shortcut.
Your question?
So could you speak to any of the various summer programs that you feel are worthwhile that help students go further in their studies? There are lots of different summer programs, and I feel like some of them are really just pay to play, and I don't know which ones. I know a few that are good, but
Okay.
I'd like to know about more.
She's asking a question is about summer programs
I do.
and how to choose or navigate which ones are most helpful or whatnot. I will say, and I'm going to turn it over to the panel, I will say as someone who's co-directed a Broadway, a musical theater camp for many years in the summer, like, if someone is going out of their way to offer a summer program, It's usually somebody who's passionate about something because they could easily be doing something else in the summer. So I don't, yeah, so if you all want to get a little more specific, that's great, but
I think most universities, at least in North Carolina, have summer programs. And they're excellent. They're excellent, especially for the first time program. We have a thing in North Carolina called Governor's School, and a lot of our top students go to Governor's School. It's a very intensive 5 or 6 week program. It's a residential program at one of the universities, and they have choir, they take lessons, they do music theory. There's a whole assortment of courses that they can select from. And then there are a lot of different kinds of programs. I have had kids participate in the Eastman School of Music. Sometimes it's online, sometimes it's residential. They've gone to the Juilliard programs. I have a summer program that goes to Italy every summer and takes young high school kids to study Italian art song and Broadway and blah, blah, blah. But there are many, many, many programs out there. But if it's a first-time student, I suggest the state schools, because in North Carolina, almost every music program in a state school, like ECU or UNC, App State has a great program. They all offer residential summer programs, and Brevard has one, and it's great. I had a student last year who went there and loved it, or 2 years ago. So,
And I'll just add to that. You know, everybody comes from varying backgrounds, and if finances are a concern, like with many of, I teach at a very small liberal arts school, Brevard College, and with many of our students, you know, they're first generation college students, and maybe their family, they don't have a lot of resources. So just starting with basic community theater, like if your students have access, or if you can open their eyes and open their parents' eyes to some basic community theater experiences that are free, part of that experience is learning to be around people, learning to work with people, learning what collaboration really means, learning to function in a schedule, being on time, you know, putting in the work because you have a rehearsal schedule that someone is expecting you to be there and be ready. I think if that's where they are, then starting there is a great place to be. And then going up from there, like you said, the state schools, a lot of them offer summer programs. And then you have much bigger venues like your Interlochen, you know, Brevard Music Center. It's not quite that expensive, but I mean, you know, it can get pretty pricey to do those summer experiences. Italy Abroad, any of the Austrian programs. So I just think there's something out there for every budget. So start in your community and then work your way out.
Mark?
Yeah, I just want to say too, kind of almost backing up a little bit, the community aspect I think is really important. My family didn't have a lot of money. In fact, that was one reason why I didn't get voice lessons. We had somebody who wanted to teach me. We just couldn't afford it, so that was fine. We did have a piano teacher, and I think we paid like $2 a half an hour, but that was back in the 1980s.
That's still very chintzy.
I know, but no, it was somebody who wasn't making a living. It was just this sweet older lady. Her grandson was a classmate of mine, and she just did it because she wanted to fill her life with teaching. And you can get an education and maybe finding people who are wanting to be mentors and help in that way with maybe a more nominal fee, because programs are great, but if you're looking to kind of continually build skill, that could be a way to do that. And there's a lot of courses that do group, like piano classes. Like we have a lot of students that come with no piano skills, and they have what's called a keyboard proficiency exam that all students have to pass no matter which music major you are. And it's a series of requirements, like you have to play these scales, you have to sight read this type of music, and the classes actually start you where you are. And so each class builds on the principle of what needs to be done to pass the proficiency exam. So I'm just sharing that to encourage you that you might feel like I have to go in being this pianist, and a lot of people don't. And it goes back to what they were saying about working harder, and determination is really the key. It's really about determination rather than exactly what kind of level you go in at, because we have had talented people come in and they just don't work hard. They really don't even progress. But then we have people that come in, oh, I just don't have that skill yet, that work really hard. You can surpass that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just to encourage you.
This is
Yeah.
wonderful. I have something very quickly to mention. So the thing about, I agree with what everybody's been saying also. The thing about summer programs, and of course we also have one here at Fomen called the Young Artist Vocal Experience, is where, you know, when it's your first one, you also don't want the student to be overwhelmed. So they need to go in knowing that that specific program is appropriate, I think, a summer program specifically, because they tend to be shorter for the level they are at that time. If it's too much for them, it's easy for them to get discouraged and not to want to continue. I like the programs that tend to give a little bit of everything, a taste of languages, a taste of piano, a taste of being on stage, a taste of voice lessons. It's a good opportunity to get a little, you know, just a smorgasbord of everything. If they go into something and they're singing chorus right away as, let's say, a sophomore or a freshman or even a senior high school student, right? I'm not even talking college level. That's a lot. It's a lot of singing, and there are way more skills that they need to know for that specific program. So I think, yeah, having mentors that guide them is crucial. Knowing that actually I would rather go to something that might be a little easier so that I can find my feet and then find my way instead of being overwhelmed. I think that's also key before you spend a lot of money.
I will wrap this question up by making this statement. There is no substitution for exposure. You can't put a price on exposing a young person to something. And so whether it's a $100 program or a $300 program or a $3,000 program, you got to start somewhere. And if it's, you know, especially, let's say you're 14, 15, 16, the program that I ran for years was open to from 11-year-olds to juniors. And they spent the night. It was a 2-week thing, and there was a dorm mom I mean, they started, it's like a huge thing to daunting for probably the parents who didn't get to see them, like the cell phones went away, and they couldn't have them until the nighttime and that sort of thing, and then they figured out why at the showcase at the end of those 2 weeks, where they saw their kids bonded with friends, lifetime friends, and they had an experience on a campus and that sort of thing. So there's no substitution for exposure. All right, and that was the question here.
Here's a two-part question for you. You guys have mentioned before that when they're doing the audition processes, they're asking, can the student work here, or are they going to be a pain? Can you give specific examples of what that would look like if you were the person doing the audition? And the second part of my question is, all of you talk appropriately about passion, and I understand what that looks like to me when I'm observing someone singing. But without answering, when you see it, can you tell me what passion looks like to you in an audition?
That's great. Two great questions in one. What does passion look like? And what does it look like to tell someone they might be a pain?
I just think, I always like to see the personalities of the student and what they discuss, what they talk about. Like, we do a lot of commercial degrees at the school I'm at, so we even have songwriters and people that want to be commercial artists. And the way they discuss music, I think, is part of how you feel out that passion. It doesn't have to be like on an intellectual level. It's just what they do with their time and how they spend their time. They go, oh, I really listen to this music, and I spend time sitting at the keyboard playing parts, or I'm trying out songwriting, I write lyrics. To me, that is an indication that they really enjoy music and have an interest in it, enough interest in it that they're going to spend time on it. And to love that, to spend time on something, you kind of want to like it. You want to love it. So you're going to spend more and more time on it, because in high school, you may spend time on it, but in college, if you're in a music degree, it's like you are going to spend a lot of time on it. So.
Go ahead.
As a teacher, oh, sorry.
No, please go ahead.
As a teacher, primarily high school students, I would say I would respond to you that when I have a student that practices every day, and then they practice more, and if they have an event such as this weekend coming up, I don't have to worry about them being prepared. They know that they will be prepared. I know that they will be prepared because they're passionate about what they're doing. I can have very, very talented, strong performers in my studio who are not passionate. And you can tell the difference. You know, when they pour their heart and soul into it, and they would rather stay home on Friday night and practice rather than go to the football game, that's because they have an audition coming up, that's an indication that they're passionate.
So if I may, I agree, but for me it's discipline versus motivation, right? So if I'm passionate about something and I really want to do it, I'll be a bit more disciplined about my practice time. But then, within the context of that, is also the idea of them sharing their personality and telling us the story. If they're well prepared, they will also feel more at ease when they perform. They're going to really share the unique part of themselves that makes them, their voice, their whole self authentic, and I'll be really interested because this is something different. Even if it's a song that I heard like 5 times that day, if that person speaks to me through how they phrase, through the dynamics they use, through their attention to detail, how they carry themselves on stage, there's so many elements to that. And then the part about being a pain, I'm going to address that too, if I may. So what makes it challenging is when people do not turn in the required forms, when they do not follow the instructions, when there are constant emails about something that has already been mentioned a few times. Basically, what any business brain is what's gonna drive a business brain crazy is gonna be the same thing, in a sense, because you also want to know that if I give an instruction, for an example, if I say to the student, hey, you know, I'd love you to enter this competition, but I know they don't submit things on time, then that means that I'm going to be stressed out having to follow up on that person. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's not just going to be for competition, it's going to be for class too. If they're responsible, if they respond to emails, you know, if they are good communicators, all of those things are key, in addition to being good at doing something.
And also, I think the college folks who are auditioning you can tell in an instant by the way you carry yourself, by the way you respond to their questions. And I'll give you an example. I had a student for many, many, many years who has had immense potential as a music theater student. I fully expect to see her on Broadway one day. And she applied to I don't know how many schools and did not get into one. And I thought, what am I missing? What am I missing? The pianist that I always had play for her at these studies, she has a chip on her shoulder. She thinks she's a shoe-in wherever she goes. Well, the college faculty, they can pick that up in an instant. She wasn't there to learn. She was there to show them how good she was, how accomplished she was. She won first place at Nats year after year after year. They don't care. You don't care about that. You want to have someone who's there to learn, who's open, right? And who is humble, who admits that maybe they're not the best at sight reading, or maybe they haven't had piano skills, or maybe they can't, you know, read the score or hear the intervals. That's okay. You're there to learn. You are there to learn. So it's not about what you have accomplished in high school, I don't think. It's not about what you've accomplished, it's what you're ready to learn. Be ready to undertake that course of study wholeheartedly and passionately. Be there to learn.
Is that address?
Thank you.
Yeah. So I will just say, you know, adding to that, to again wrap that up a little bit, the kind of student versus the kind of school, you know, these, like you said, we're trying to have the right match, and we all agree that we want the student to be successful.
Yes.
So I know for me, in this type of school that I'm in, a very small liberal arts program where all styles are celebrated, one, you know, not more than the other, and, you know, there's music therapy, there's music technology, this person's interested in that, interested in that. If you show me in your audition or indicate something that says that you are, that you have some entrepreneurial spirit, that's also something that I go, oh, this is a good place for you. Because those are the people that will go out and start I have a young lady that competed this weekend, we never had a student-run chamber choir. She will have her own studio. I know these things, that she will do these things, like you said, that young lady. So that's just another thing. The entrepreneurial spirit must have a broader outlook in today's world, much more broad. So I hope that helps. I think there was a question. Was there a question back there? Yes, please. Go ahead. Yes.
Me?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You can ask a question too.
No, I didn't have much. I didn't have a question.
Oh, okay. Yes, I think you did. Go ahead.
So if you have like a singer auditioning that isn't like super secure and confident in their abilities or their voice, like does that turn you away from wanting to work with them?
Could you repeat that again a little tiny bit louder?
So if you have a singer audition for you that like isn't very secure or confident in their abilities, does that turn you away from wanting to work with them? Is that like the personality thing that like
Okay, so if you are auditioning and you're not super confident, is that what your question? And does that turn the faculty off?
Yeah.
Do you want to?
No,
Absolutely.
I don't think so.
absolutely not, no. I mean, think about how unnerving it is to walk into a room full of people waiting to judge you. I mean, we want you to do well, but truly, that's what we're doing. I mean, we are making a judgment about what we hear. That can be a really intimidating and scary experience. But again, I mean, I think I'll reiterate some of the things that have already been said. You know, if you are prepared, we know. Because we've been there. I mean, we've all been there. And we really, 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 really want you to do well. We don't want to hear a bad audition. We don't want to hear, you know, a song that you just rolled out of bed and decided to like sing from the radio. I mean, we want you to put some thought into it. And so I think just knowing what makes you special, like really taking a minute to think about that. You know, what do I bring that is unique to me? And that doesn't have to be a fantastic music ability. That doesn't have to be a super polished, you know, perfect, whatever that is, audition. It doesn't have to be songs, you know, that are full of foreign language or, you know, it doesn't have to be any of that. It's simply that you put in some thought to what makes you shine and you showed up and you did your absolute best. And at the end of the day, we wouldn't want to work with that, you know?
And I think, as plugged for NATS, that is one of the best training experiences that you can expect. When you go to your district NATS auditions, and then you go to the regional, and you do it year after year after year, that's like a college audition, because you're singing for strange people who are listening to you and judging you. And that's, so, you know, I encourage my young kids to come to NATS, and through the years, they just get more confident, more polished, more experienced. And when they head off to college auditions, it's easy. It's easy, because they've already done it so many times.
Does that answer your question?
I mean, like, not necessarily as a performer, like as a person, like when you're speaking to them, like if they like don't seem like, because like if they don't like
being shy.
no,
Right.
I mean, yes, like in a bit in that sense, but like also just like saying like people know, like you were like think about like what makes you special, what makes you shy, like what do you like work towards. Like if I like am willing to work hard about for like what I like performing and stuff like that, but like I don't know, like I'm not really sure like I know who I am as a performer.
Yeah.
Can I speak
Sure,
up?
absolutely.
I just like to say, we just understand there are many different types of people in the world. You are just a person who has a special personality, and it's not a cookie cutter. This is the type of person we're accepting, because that's not the way it works. We don't want everybody to be the same. If I have a teaching studio, which I do, and I've got you know, a lineup of singers, I really don't want them all to be the same because it's actually harder work. I actually want variety. So I love having this student who's got maybe this type of personality, and then I've got this student, they've got this type of personality. I find it interesting personally. So I don't think you should feel embarrassed or insecure about not being accepted because that's your personality. I think it's part of the creativity spirit of what music is and what maybe you could contribute to it that somebody else won't. So does that help a little bit? Yeah, we're not looking, everybody must be right here by the time they audition, and you have to be able to speak at this level and so forth, if that makes sense. Like you're going to do music with your personality. Like all of us will do music, but we're very different personalities. Does that make sense?
And that's what will make her special.
Yeah.
You'll be special.
We don't want to hear like everybody at the same personality level doing the exact same expression.
Good answer.
That's not our.
All right, I have time for one more burning question, and then we have to, yes, you're passionate.
It has to be a burning, passionate question.
And, yeah, so is anything this young gentleman would like to know? He looks like a musician.
Yeah.
Not too much. I've already auditioned for all the colleges.
Oh, okay.
He's done.
So you're done.
Serious.
Great.
Did you get accepted?
Did you?
I got accepted to most of them.
Good.
Great.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Yeah. Yes.
So, a quick question about repertoire for auditions. Would you rather hear someone singing a more difficult piece that might not be as polished? Or would you rather have them sing a simpler piece, maybe one of the 28 Italian art songs, and have it be polished and ready and confident and so forth? Like, what level of repertoire are you looking for?
That's a great question. Great question. Anyone else?
Right.
Number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, number 2, I always want to hear, it's also like, show us what you're able to do, not what you can't do.
Right.
You know, and we want to just hear where it is, not where it could be. So if you're missing high notes, it's not a competition for like, I've got to do something that hits a high A. If you only have an F5, let's say, then just sing up to that level as long as it's as beautiful as you can sound.
Choose things that show what's really special about you and your abilities, whether that's vocal or, I mean, if you are a tall, beautiful, wonderful human, if you are a short, petite, beautiful human, if you are a blonde, if you are a brunette, it doesn't matter, but whatever your gifts are, physical or otherwise, we want to see those. We want to see what makes you special. And in preparation, you should prepare the things that you sing the best. At any time of the day, they are going to be wonderful. And that we sit back and say, gosh, that was the best, Per la gloria d'Alvarado that we have ever heard. But it's because you can put your entire self into that preparation process, and the end result is a wonderful performance because it's attainable.
But I think also it sets the singer at ease.
Yes.
In that audition, if they are
Yes.
singing something they're confident with.
Yep.
You're not worried about the high A, but it's something that is tried and true, they've sung it 1,000 times, they've had success with it. I always send my kids with things they've already sung at Matt's.
I will
If they've
say-
done well at Matt's, then I know they're gonna do well in the audition.
I think that we probably could agree as teachers that when we are auditioning on the college level and someone does come in and they're singing something like really difficult or maybe beyond them, that we know that it speaks more to what their teacher or however they got a hold of that piece than it does to them. And so we can assess that situation and be fair about it. I'm so sorry to have to end this. I'll just say again, just a couple of little nuggets, and then we can go down and maybe share a few nuggets. One of the things that you said, Dr. Simone, I loved what she said earlier about, well, I took voice lessons because I was competitive. I just wanted to beat the other girl. And so I just want to say, one, I love that spirit. We love that spirit. We're not here to have fist fights over it, but a little healthy competition, and that is going to take you far. And risk taking, all of those things. I would not be sitting here today if I did not, have the boldness to go up and ask someone something, or to go out and audition for something, and that sort of thing. And then, so any other, just nugget.
For me?
Yeah.
Work hard, be passionate, prepare, choose your repertoire very carefully. Do things that you are confident with. Communicate. If there's a particular school you want to go to, reach out to them and say, do you have a senior day? Is there a day that I can come and visit? Can I shadow a student? Can I attend some of their voice lessons to just, audit? Can I have a voice lesson with one of your faculty? That's so valuable, because the more familiar the students are with a variety of schools that are out there, the more carefully they're going to prepare for those auditions, and the happier they're going to be. I always use the example of a shoe store. You go by a shoe store and you say, oh, I love those shoes. You go try them on, they don't fit, and you have to choose something else. I think it's important for kids to explore a wide range of schools, and then when they get those acceptances, lay them on the table and say, okay, which one fits the best? And there are many different factors.
That's wonderful.
All awesome. I mean, do the best you can. This is a hard one, but do not compare yourself with others. It's a journey, and it's the long haul that matters. And so short term, you might feel like you're behind, but I was expressing to somebody earlier, you could have two people starting out, and one has a little more experience. They go to a higher named school, somebody less experience, maybe not as big of a named school, and where they actually end up, this person over here with a lesser experience to start with can actually sometimes go further. It depends on their own determination and that journey. So you just have to be on your path, and you have to be willing, like we've said, just be open to all that learning and finding those mentors. And so if you embrace that voice teacher that really has helped you, and stay in touch over time with long-term people in your life. I still actually have a voice professor, a voice person that I go to for my voice. So it's a long-term investment. This isn't just a 4-year investment. So do not compare yourself. Stay on your path.
Basically everything they said. I have a couple small points. Be humble, be courageous, be strong, be kind, because you matter.
That's a great way to wrap this up. I will also just say, in your application process, there are generally some places where you have to write essays or like a little statement. Another thing, I know this panel of folks looking at those applications, we love it when there's punctuation. And we like it when it's earnest and clear. And it doesn't have to be long and involved, but when a person comes in and they write well, that's another feather in your hat. So thank this panel, help me